Welcome to Speak for Yourselves. Thank you for spending your Memorial Day with us on this important day of remembrance. Fox Sports is proud to honor the brave military men and women who have given their lives while serving our country. Yes, thank you all very much for your service. Let's get it started with the NBA playoffs. That's right, Acho. I'm not going to let you talk. And the Lakers took 2 big L's Sunday. They lost to the Suns, and the series is now tied 2-2. But they also lost Anthony Davis. I'm not laughing at that. Who missed the entire second half with a strain groin. Reports say AD is unlikely to play in Game 5 tomorrow night in Phoenix, but there is optimism on his status as the series continues and is evaluated day to day. So, Acho, how many push-ups you want to do right now? What is your level of concern for the Lakers at the drop in Game 4?
Are we not going to address your strained vocal cords like we talk about?
Oh, you can hear it? Man, that went and got it in. They took it out of me, boy. I need your thing.
I need you to be playing. I need AD to play injured like you playing injured right now, big dog. I respect it. My concern level for Game 5 after leaving Game 4 is high. And it's high for several reasons.
Yes.
Now, it's not that the Lakers can't win, but if the Lakers win the series, at what cost? Lakers fans, that's what y'all got to start asking yourselves. The question of can the Lakers still win the series, that to me is very simple. At least it's much more simple than at what cost.
What's the simple answer then?
Yes. We're going to talk about that later in the show, though. To me, if LeBron is going to do what he's going to have to do in order for the Lakers to win this series, that is score and assist, 35-plus points, 10-plus assists, what is that going to take out of him? At what cost? You saw Chris Paul, what lengths he went through to win Game 1. Playing through his shoulder injury, that sacrificed Game 2. That sacrificed Game 3. Now, he recovered by Game 4, which we all saw yesterday, but at what cost for the Lakers to win the series? When you talk about my concern level, my concern comes to this. But having the best player on the court, do they have the best coach on the court?
Who?
That's the problem. The Lakers.
The championship coach who won a championship in his first year now, question marks at the AD strain.
No.
I
always have question marks for coaches that win with LeBron James. Remember when your Clippers hired Ty Lue? Oh, Ty Lue, he's a championship caliber coach. He had LeBron James. Remember Eric Spoelstra? Eric Spoelstra, he has several champions. He had LeBron James. Everybody who has LeBron James, I always question their coaching acumen. So now Frank Vogel. Yeah, I still did even Spoelstra. Spoelstra had only gotten out the first round, I think, once in the prior 4 years to LeBron James showing up.
He was in the finals last year.
He was. What happened this year? Okay, we're not going to talk about
We're going to do this?
No, yeah, we are. We're going to do all of it.
Hyperbole.
We're going to do all of it.
Golly.
My concern level is high because Frank Vogel, I would say that he really cost them the game. Why you leave Drummond in there in the third quarter at the end of it for an extra 5 minutes?
Good point.
That's when they blew the lead. The lead was at 7-8. It was manageable. Yep. Now, Drummond, at all of 6'11", about 280 pounds, you're flopping? You know how hard it is for you to fall down? And you want to throw yourself into the ground so DeAndre Ayton can just yam on you and hang on the rim?
Big play.
Come on now, dog. I question Frank Vogel for leaving Drummond in for that long. I question what it's going to take out of LeBron James in order for the Lakers to win the series. I have a very high level of concern, not just for the series, but the long-term effects of what it will take to win the series.
Man, okay. Your take took me a lot of places. I don't like where I am right now because I feel like I'm lost because you know why? You still have too much optimism for this team. Oh, it's a wrap. Them Lakers are in trouble.
Okay, there's a difference. A wrap or in trouble?
No, I'm going to tell you why it's a wrap, because they're in trouble. A strain growing. Can you talk to the party people out there and let them know what a strain growing is?
Big dog, thank you for setting me up for this one.
Let's go. I know you.
When we hear the words strain and sprain, we think of them so casually. Oh, it's just a strain groin.
Thank you.
It's just a strained groin.
Boy, stop.
I strained my groin against the Tennessee Titans, 2013. We had to play the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving 4 days later. Let me break down what a strain is. A strain is a nice way to say torn, partially torn. AD has a partially torn groin.
Yes.
A strain just sounds cute and cuddly. Oh, just a little strain. No, he has a partially torn groin. AD is not going to be right for at least 2 weeks. Like, that's at a minimum. It could be a first-degree strain, which just means a slight partial tear. Second degree, which is what I had. It took me 2.5 weeks to get right. Yeah, but Acho, use a backup. No. That time I was starting. They actually cared about me. And it took me 2.5 weeks. So I digress. I'm going to come back to that. But yes, a strained groin is much bigger than just, it's just a little strain. He'll be all right.
Yeah, it's a PC, polite way of saying pain.
Yes.
Like
a lot of it.
Oh, especially the growing. Like, the growing hides behind hamstring injuries, behind quad injuries. No, the growing is the one that nags, that lingers. Man, AD is going to be compromised if we see him at all.
We won't this
game
series.
5.
We won't.
I'm not the doctor, but I know from my experience, you wouldn't be seeing me for a week or two, like you said.
No, sir.
We'll see if AD can plow through it. But the point of why they're in trouble is AD, circling him, what we just discussed. Why it's over is because this team in the Phoenix Suns took the Lakers' best punches. Game 2, Game 3, AD, 34. LeBron out there jogging, but still being the floor general. And they took their best punches. And now the karma done flipped. They done flipped the script. Now let's see if you could take our best punches, because now CP3 looks like CP 2.5. Like, he's almost there, you know what I'm saying? And here's the thing. It's not even how well they're playing, the Phoenix Suns. It's how well they're not playing and still winning. They ran the Lakers off the court with a one-arm CP3, 14 and 17 points from Ayton and Booker. Trust me, when they return to form and CP3 becomes CP3 and not 2.5, what can the Lakers do without AD? You saw the lineups. I saw the Lakers, and this is when I knew they were scared, because they said, if you're scared, go to church. They went to church in the fourth quarter. They finally paid their tithes. They paid their tithes for Trez. They said, okay. I saw Frank Vogel get on his knees. He said, Montrez, I'm so sorry. I know the first game you played well, and I just benched you game 2 and game 3 because we were feeling ourselves. We had AD out there. We had Drummond out there. We wanted to play big, and we just let you sit and rot on the bench. And then in this game, they let them rot on the bench. Fourth quarter, here comes Trez, because they pay their tithe. Praying to the gods, hoping, praying, and got ran off the court. Point is, without AD, Mark Jackson continuously stressed this point, and I'll have to echo it again. No one out there is scaring you. You can see when LeBron's out there, that's LeBron. We're going to always give him his respect. Schroeder, yeah. But the rest of those dudes, they do not compromise the defense. So Phoenix, not even playing well, beat the Lakers. Wait till they play well.
Here's the thing, Sel. At this point in time, 4 games into all of these different playoff series, some teams are swept, some down 3-1, some at 2-2. I'm throwing out the window the wait till you play well ideology. Why? Because I think at this point, Sel, what you see is what you get.
Okay.
I'm not going to assume that Chris Paul is going to get much better. He gave you 18-9 and no turnovers. I saw a stat floating around Twitter, the Twitterverse the other day.
Okay.
Chris Paul is like the only other player with Magic Johnson to have 6 9+ assist games and no turnovers. So CP 2.5 might actually just be CP3. I'm not going to keep here waiting on it.
Okay.
Crowder. Oh, man, eventually shots going to start falling. He went 2 for 8.
I mean,
it's better than his 2 for 20, which I think he went into the game with. So, they did start falling. But I do think we've seen an 8-point victory, a 12-point victory, a 15-point victory. Like, at this point, what we see is what we get. The question is, what is LeBron going to be able to give? I think you and I both know LeBron is capable of carrying this team. How far can he carry this team?
Carrying this team without AD? We saw that year 1, Lakers. How'd that go?
Not
he
the
got
same
hurt
team.
and they didn't make the playoffs.
Not the same
was Schroeder?
team.
CP3's backup from last year?
The kicker is this, bro. The two games the Lakers won, Schroeder has accounted for 44 points. The 2 games the Lakers have lost, Schroeder has accounted for 22 points, cumulatively. He had a 14-point game, 18-point game. He had a 24-point game, a 20-point game. So we can't scoff at Schroeder.
Oh, we can.
Because we both know that Schroeder is actually the secret weapon to the Lakers winning or losing the series.
Well, it's a secret that nobody else has heard, because guess what? They keep it too secret. He's a fringe starter. He's you, Acho. You remember when you was a backup?
Fringe starter?
Was he a starter last year?
Red Dog, he just gave you 24 and 20 back-to-back games, 2 and 3.
Dog, what, Campaign is now a starter too? Like, sometimes fringe starter, first of all, don't take it as an insult. The negative connotation, only 5 can be on the court and only 2 at your position. Shut up. Schroeder, you were a backup last year, right? I think he got game. I think he got talent. But you trying to sell me on a new big 2? LeBron and Schroeder, when CP3 is dribbling with one arm, looking at him like, dog, it was my backup. If you don't get out my face, there's no intimidation factor. There's no presence, especially offensively, that's going to help them create enough. AD, just in presence and stature, beyond production, is a real big two, LeBron, AD. You going from that to LeBron and Schroeder and trying to sell it? You ain't even buying that.
But big dog, well, here's what I'm buying. I'm buying LeBron plus. That's what I'm buying.
Oh, 2007 Cavs.
Sell. Let me put it to you like this. When you go to a steakhouse, call it Mastro's.
Let's go.
When you go to a steakhouse, y'all, whatever favorite steakhouse is in the city in which you are watching this show, picture it.
Let's go.
You don't go to a steakhouse for the sides. Cream corn can smack. Lobster mac can bang. Cream spinach, woo! Oh. Don't let them have no truffle mac with lobster. It's all gravy. But you go to a steakhouse for the steak.
Okay.
The sides are nice additives, but what sells you on a steakhouse is the steak. You go where for the porterhouse, 20 ounces, bone in. I like it Oscar style. I'm betting on the Lakers for the king.
For the king.
Schroeder's a nice side. I need that. Gasol from 3, I like that. Kuzma. Honestly,
you like
Kuzma's the bread.
He's the bread?
Kuzma's the bread.
No, I'm good. I'm watching my carbs. I'm good.
Hopefully it's warm and they have butter. Don't give me the olive oil with the vinaigrette. Hopefully it's warm and they have butter. But you go to the steakhouse for the steak. I'm banking on the Lakers for the king. Yes, the sides are nice because you don't just go to a steakhouse and get a steak with no sides. Typically, you get the steak with the sides in this family style. But that's not what you bank on it for. You bank on the steakhouse for the steak. I'm banking on the Lakers for the king, Sel. Let's pay respect to the man who has gone to 9 out of the last 10 NBA Finals. Do you really think...
But you ain't gonna put respect on Frank Vogel for winning in the championship last year, but I gotta put respect on LeBron for not carrying this team to the playoffs in this year one?
LeBron is the constant.
No, he's not. AD is.
AD can't even stay healthy.
That's the point.
And he couldn't stay healthy before this series either.
Hold on. But he stayed healthy 1 year of his career. And it's the 1 year he played with LeBron. And they win a championship to contrast that. The year before when LeBron and others, as you say, will just go through and plow through to the championship, didn't even make the damn playoffs. But now you're back to square one, which was year one LeBron with the Lakers. And you're saying he's going to be able to pull all these guys forward. 2 years older in this same moment. It doesn't make sense, bro. And you do go to Red Lobster for the sides. The biscuits at Red Lobster.
Shut a biscuit.
Yeah, buddy. I don't need no lobster, just more biscuits, please. More Kuzma, please. Here's the thing. This is going to be the truest definition of a team game. We're talking about LeBron is going to need others. And who is going to step up consistently against a team that really has a big three version? CP3, Ayton, and Booker is a real... It's a lower tier, but it is a big three. It's not the Brooklyn Nets big three, but it's on that level. Why? Because you're getting 20 and 14 from Ayton, DeAndre Ayton, and he's shooting 81%. Not only is he balling out, and he didn't even ball out this game and they won, he's forcing them to have lineups they don't desire. That's why Trez is not playing. That's why Drummond's out there flopping.
That's fair.
All that's happening because of one player and his presence. You have just removed your major presence. LeBron's LeBron. You know I think he's the GOAT, and we know he's the king. But he can't do it by himself with this team. He already showed it in a Lakers uniform.
I don't always steal takes, but when I do, I give credit to the author the first time. They won't get credit again. I watched First Things First this morning. I didn't watch it. It came out too early out here. But I rewatched it. And my dog, Nick Wright, your friend of the show, just Nick. Friend in general, he talked about LeBron James and the Lakers. When LeBron James is on the court, the Lakers are plus 37, plus or minus. That is what they are with LeBron on the court. He's been on the court for 151 minutes. The 41 minutes he's been off the court, just 41, minus 33, plus or minus. So the Lakers truly do go as far as LeBron James will take them. So the math equation is very simple. How long can you keep LeBron James on the court until LeBron James either suffers a setback or until LeBron James can go no more? But it's not about can LeBron handle the Suns. He can. When he's on the court, they're plus 37, plus or minus in the 151 minutes. The question is, how often do you have to take LeBron James off the court to recover? If LeBron plays 42 to 44 minutes, which I think he's going to have to play. He played 38, I think, last night. He's going to have to give you 42 to 44 over the next 3. The Lakers are going to win the series. But after you push that Tesla for a day, what happens, big dog? Your phone goes off during the show and you get that reminder. recharge.
Recharge.
I don't think LeBron James will be able to recharge for the next series. But for this series, like that Tesla on a day trip to Palos Verdes, you good.
Okay. I like that take. I'm going to give you a little credit and then steal the rest so I can get all the credit. I'm the big dog in the house saying, dog, we ain't going to make it, so we ain't even going to take off. And you're sitting there saying, no, we going to make it, but what's going to happen after we take off?
That's good.
Okay?
That's good.
I'm just telling you, you ain't going nowhere, dog. This is it. Love your life. Look out the windows. This is all you're going to get in terms of view because LeBron James is now, finally our track example, 20 minutes in, has to run the 400 against a sprint relay team. Uh-oh. They got a baton, and they're going to pass it. CP3, he gonna run my first leg right off that curve. CP3, one arm. So it's going to help him like this. He's just going to go across the curve, right? Here you go, LeBron saying, I'm going to beat y'all. I'm going to beat y'all by myself. And then they're going to pass the baton. Devin Booker. Oh, my second leg. You thought you were going to run anchor. Nah, he running second leg. Then I'm going to give it to DeAndre Ayton on that third leg. LeBron's still running by himself. And then we give it to Campaign, and then we can bring it home with a big lead.
I'm going to ask the national record holder in the 400 meters in high school, Marcellus Wiley.
First of all, national champion as well. I was 4 years old.
I'm going to ask you this question, sir.
Yes.
When you run a sprint relay, which is a 4x1 versus an individual running a 400 meters.
Line them up.
The individual running the 400 meters will win through what point?
The first step?
No. They will win through what point? They will win through
depends on how fast it is. He may hang in the first leg. He may.
Of course, because it's just...
Dog, don't do this.
It's 100 versus 100.
No. Are you kidding? LeBron, what's the world record in the 400? 43 flat. 43 flat. What's the world record in the sprint relay? 38. You ain't got a chance as hell. That's like any real runner racing DK Metcalf. You ain't got a shot. You're dead last. LeBron can't do this by himself.
You can win through 200 meters, and all LeBron James needs to do is win 2 games.
Oh, God. And then what? Patrick Mahomes wants his Chiefs to go 20-0 this season. What? We'll tell you if we or he should be talking about that. That's next on Speak for Yourself. Come on, man.
But first, Naomi Osaka has withdrawn from the French Open a day after being fined for not talking to the media. We got a lot to say about that next on Speak for Yourself.
Oh, I gave it back to you. Look at that. It came back. Karma's a real.
Hello everyone, I'm HN Santiago, stationed at Naval Medical Center, Portsmouth, Virginia. Just want to give a quick shout out to my hometown, Sun Valley, California, and to my family and friends. Miss you guys, love y'all.
Thank you, HN Santiago, for your service. Now let's head to the French Open, where Naomi Osaka has withdrawn from the tournament a day after she was fined $15,000 for skipping her mandatory press conference following her first-round win Sunday. The 4 Grand Slam tournament issued a joint statement, which in part said repeat violations could include more fines and a default from the tournament. Osaka posted the reason for her withdrawal today, saying, quote, I think now the best thing for the tournament, the other players, and my well-being is that I withdraw so that everyone can get back to focusing on the tennis going on in Paris. I never wanted to be a distraction, and I accept that my timing was not ideal and my message could have been clearer. More importantly, I would never trivialize mental health or use that term lightly. The truth is that I have suffered long bouts of depression since the U.S. Open in 2018. And I have a really hard time coping with that. So, Marcellus, what's your reaction to Naomi withdrawing from the French Open?
Let me preface it with my thoughts and prayers for Naomi and whatever she's going through and her mental health. I respect that, and I can't diagnose that, especially from this vantage point, but just take her for her word. But I also could take her for her actions, and that's where I'm going to pivot from there. To me, this is interesting because if it's a power play, then I think for others, she's missing the point. And if it's really a break for her, then there was a better way of going about this. It's amazing that when we're young, trying to become professional athletes, we're trying to run to a place. We're trying to run to an achievement level. And time again, I'm starting to see, and this example highlights it, that once they arrive at that place, all of a sudden, they want to reset what that place looks like. And it's interesting, is it for the better or is it for the worse? This is an opportunity for anyone who plays professional tennis to go out there and play and show who you are. She is probably the top tennis player right now, even though she was number 2 seed in the French Open. Point being, why now? and why this. If you've been dealing with something for so long, and she even explained it herself, she didn't fully come out in a concise, proper manner to explain her mental health. Why now is my conversation, my concern? Because you can't help anybody else if you're hurting yourself too. And I don't see how this is going to take her forward in the sport. I don't see how this is going to take her forward in terms of her mental health by just taking this break. So it's a little vague in terms of what I'm seeing from her. I don't understand why. Social anxiety, depression, she's dealing with that. But to deal with it means you can endure it. And I think right now we're in a world where people expect a lot, but they want to endure a little. And you can't do that to the sport. You can't do this to your aspirations, to your dreams, to your goals, to your achievements, to now want to reset what that looks like when every participant has to go through those same rigors, no matter how it makes you feel. Yeah, some people go to the podium and they're excited because they love to talk. Some people are apprehensive, but it's still a part of the participation of sport. So maybe you can help me clear this up, because right now, without me damning her for mental health issues, I'm kind of left a little lost on this one.
I had to think on this one long and hard, and I recounted a quote that I heard so often, and it says, if all you see is what you see, then you do not see all there is to be seen.
Okay.
And I think all we see when we assess sports and when we assess athletes is the physical. But it is long overdue that we try to at least do a better job understanding the mental. We have seen athletes try to rush back from physical injuries, and what happens? They get hurt and do even more damage. Kevin Durant, NBA Finals, Golden State Warriors, rushes back from a calf injury. He ends up tearing his Achilles. We now lose out on him for the duration of a season. So what if we assume the same thing could happen with mental health injuries? The problem is we do not understand the brain well enough, and thus I don't think we take mental health injuries serious enough. So I'm cautious of this. If an athlete were to go to a podium with a boot on and a boot on their foot and say, man, if I practice, I can't play in the game. I'm hurt. But if y'all don't make me practice, I can play. If an athlete were to have a broken wrist or a torn ligament in their elbow and say, hey, I'm hurt. I can't practice because I'm trying to maintain some level of health. But as long as I don't practice, I can play. We would say, and we have seen so many coaches say, okay, don't practice, just make sure you can play. Naomi Osaka told us, y'all, I'm hurt mentally. Y'all, I'm hurt with anxiety. Y'all, I'm hurt emotionally. And what did the French Open do? They responded by fining her. Imagine how asinine it would be to fine a player who told us they were hurt and thus they could not play. If only we granted them the ability to not practice. All Naomi Osaka said was, hey, grant me the ability to not speak at the podium. I will speak at the end of the French Open. I promise y'all, I'm going to speak at the end. But please grant me the ability to not speak during, because I am hurt. But because we have not, I think collectively as a society, taken the mental health issue seriously enough, now Naomi Osaka's like, well, I have to protect myself since y'all won't protect me.
I love that take. I love that take.
Go somewhere. I know you got some thoughts. I know
some
you
pushbacks.
Always.
Here's the thing. Some of the vagueness, some of the issues around mental health clarity is because it is not as objective as physical injury.
Yes,
correct?
Sir. Yes, sir.
You broke a bone.
To all of that.
Yes. You broke a bone. Did you break your brain? Did you break yourself in this moment? Like, your level of anxiety is hard to materialize because it's your level of anxiety. And then once it is, if materialized, have you endured through that level before? Or is this more based on feelings, not so much just anxiety-induced issues? There's a big difference. Being an athlete, you know this more than anybody. And it's funny when you become a pro, people think that you were Teflon to these moments. I wanted to quit football many a times, especially growing up. When I got to the pros, not as much. But there were days when I don't want to do it. But you know what? That moment, am I dealing with anxiety of the sport? Am I dealing with some kind of trauma from the sport that I don't want to endure? Or do I push through that because we know that once you get through that, all of a sudden you're going to feel better and you're going to get the energy of your contribution? I wonder where she is in terms of her anxiety level. And it's not for me to press her on it. But It is for me to analyze what she's done and see if it's really calculated or misdirected. That's my issue, because I don't know where she is now. I don't know where she's been. But, dog, you cannot tap out and use mental health as cover for when you don't want to go through the rigors of a participation.
But let me ask you, Sel. Oh, this going to get good. This going to get good, y'all.
Tell me.
I refuse to believe that Naomi Osaka is tapping out because the rigors of a 15-minute post-presser are too tough. I think that it may be detrimental to her health beyond our comprehension for those who are mentally healthy or have never had to deal with a mental health issue. But I do not think that it is too tough and she cannot handle it. I'm reminded of all-pro offensive guard for the Philadelphia Eagles, Brandon Brooks. We were never teammates. He showed up about a year after I left. Brandon Brooks thinks 6'4", 325 pounds he's listed as. Just muscle, all-pro, all that.
Beast.
November 24th, 2019 against the Seattle Seahawks, Brandon Brooks could not play in that game because he was dealing with a bout of anxiety. Now, I, who played linebacker, am not going to question the toughness of an all-pro 6'4", 325-pound NFL offensive lineman. But mentally, he could not play in the game because he said that he was dealing with anxiety. In the same breath, I look at Naomi Osaka, and although she is not the same in physical stature, she got the heart of a lion, and we have seen it time and time again. I am not going to question her toughness. I genuinely think so. She is looking at it and saying, I have to protect my mental health. Let me put it like this, and then I will pass the baton back to you to run this relay, big dog, and we got laps to run.
Yes.
In football, you can miss a game and your team still carry you on to victory. In football, you can underperform in a Super Bowl and your team still carry you on to a championship. But in an individual sport like tennis, it's all about you, big dog.
Facts.
The reason some people would submit that Serena Williams is not the greatest tennis player of all time is only because she does not have the most wins. Not because she is not the most physically dominant, not because she's not the most dominant of her era, but because she does not have the most all-time Grand Slams. Naomi Osaka is looking at the one thing that dictates your greatness. In tennis, we don't say, well, you played with Hall of Famers. Well, your quarterback was an all-pro. In tennis, we just look at what did you do as an individual. And of the four major tournaments, she forfeited one in the French Open. And it was so important to protect her peace that she forfeited playing in the French Open. I'm going to say this last little bit, Sal. I promise you I'm done. And it's got so many thoughts.
You better stop. Keep going.
Terrell Owens played with a broken fibula to play in the championship game. 7 weeks after breaking his leg, mind you, that injury takes roughly 4 months to recover from. My brother broke his leg, same bone. Thomas Davis played with 15 stitches in his arm because he broke his forearm prior to Super Bowl 50. Thomas Davis, linebacker for the Carolina Panthers, played against the Denver Broncos in that game. We have seen athletes go through so much physical pain to play in their championship game. So for Naomi Osaka to not play in her championship game, if you will, I can only imagine how much mental pain she must be going through, because we have seen athletes go through great heights physically. So if I'm going to draw a parallel mentally, oh, you must be going through things that we can't even comprehend. And for that reason, I'm just going to bow out and say, I know that I do not know.
If we respect fully every word that she has stated, she's not contradicted herself, but she has already been on record saying I haven't been as clear and concise as what I'm feeling as I should have been. Okay, so that takes me places, because here's why we struggle with physical injury and pain versus mental injury and pain. And we don't come down on the two the same, the physical realm, the mental realm, because we all know we can fight through pain. And we all also know we can fight through certain levels of injury. But there is a point where you can't fight through it at all. And I think what everyone wants to say and is not saying is, how much of this can you fight through? How much of this have you fought through? Because you said since 2018 you've been dealing with it. Are we at the apex in terms of your pain, which has now led to mental injury, which means you can't play through it? Or was this a miscalculated flex that you said what you wanted? They fought back in unity, in unison. All the four majors have said, no, these are the rules. And then you now want to take a miscalculated break. That's my issue with this. And I don't know that answer, but I do know in every sport, physically, mentally, spiritually, you got to fight. Because you can't get the privilege of sport, professional sport, I should say. You can't get the platform of professional sport without paying the price. And that price is not, oh, I get to leave my family. The price is not, oh, I got to kiss my kids and don't see it for a few days, or her travel around the world. No, the price is when you don't want to do it, what you going to do? Because as I heard the cliche goes, nobody can do your doing for you. So I'm looking at Naomi right now as, have you done this before? And it's so weird. Here's my last little angle. I saw this coming from Naomi in some form or some respect, being demonstrative. Because remember when she was wearing the mask of all the names, as they call it, all the people who've been shot and killed. And I saw her wearing a mask, and I was like, interesting. That's a demonstration that she's using her platform to bring awareness. And then when I saw her talk about mental health, I was respecting and applauding her until I heard her also say, well, I don't want to be subjected to environments where people are doubting me. Wait a minute. You're a professional athlete, number 2 seeded in this, and probably the best tennis player we got right now. And you don't want to be subjected to environments where people doubt you? Welcome to not only sports, welcome to life. And you think that crowd is always in favor of you? You think your opponent is rooting for you, is not doubting you? And most communication is nonverbal. So no matter where you step in this world, you're going to always be doubted, no matter if you're number 2 or number 1 seed. My question is, where is she going with this? Because everywhere she goes, she's still Naomi Osaka there.
I love that take. I love that point. But let's go even deeper. You can sometimes at least withdraw yourself from environments where you know pain may be inflicted.
Okay.
When you get hurt in the NFL and you are on injured reserve and you're no longer actually on the roster, you are now on IR, you can watch the game from the sideline if you choose. But you can also watch the game from the box.
Yeah.
And typically, you would watch the game from the box if you have an injury like a torn pectoral muscle and thus you have your arm in a sleeve. Now, you don't necessarily want to watch the game from the sideline because you can't protect yourself from the injury if the football players start running towards the sideline and you cannot move. When you're in an instance where you have an option, and in that option you can choose to protect yourself because you are dealing with a lingering injury, then choose to protect yourself. I think Naomi had the option. She's not saying I don't want to deal with being doubted during the course of play. I don't want to deal with being doubted in life in general.
But just questions?
But if I don't know what these questions do to
I don't give a damn what question it could be. There's nothing that's going to be more detrimental to my health than the actual participation.
But that's your health. What about her health?
Okay, and that's what I'm respecting. But you've been asked these questions before because they are now getting you to a new place. So you've already went through these rigors. You're tired of going through those rigors, but don't act like you can't endure those rigors because you already have.
So that's a great point, and I wrote this down here. You said that, and I agree with, you can't get the privilege of playing professional sports without paying the price. I'm going to repeat it so y'all can digest it. You can't get the privilege of playing professional sports without paying the price. But here's the problem, Sel. What happens if you go to the bank and you got insufficient funds? In December, so much great stuff going on in my life. Nothing but great stuff going on in my life. Co-hosting a show with my dog. Best-selling book. Making dumb amounts of money compared to what I had previously made. Go to the bank, the real bank, and I'm not hitting insufficient funds. But I went to the bank of life, and I looked and I said, I'm in a new city by myself. In the middle of a pandemic, I got about 1.5 friends out here on a good day. And I actually don't really know nobody in this joint. So yeah, I got money and I got a whole bunch of followers and everybody loves Emmanuel Acho and the uncomfortable conversation guy. But I went to the bank emotionally and I said, dang, I got insufficient funds. I had to call one of my homeboys, a hip hop artist. And I said, hey bro, what did you do? And he said, congratulations, you've arrived. And I was like, man, because everything looked great. Naomi Osaka is the highest grossing female athlete last year at $51 million. She earns more money than Giannis. She earns more money, if I'm not mistaken, last year than James Harden. But in the bank, emotionally, she went to withdraw, it appears, Sel, and she got insufficient funds. So you were exactly right when you talk about you have to pay a price to have the privilege of playing professional sports. Yes, that is a tongue twister. But what in the world happens when you got insufficient funds? And I think Naomi went to withdraw for this French Open, and she looked and she was like, I ain't got it.
Oh, man. Insufficient funds. Golly. Let me talk about my banking system. I think right now what has gotten lost is that life is beautifully ugly. Beautifully ugly. It's whatever you see it for what it is. No matter what, I was in dire circumstances growing up, and I loved my life. We were in harmony. I knew I had faced adversity around me. Everybody knows my story and all the hardships I had to deal with, but it came from the inside out, so life was beautiful. And then all of a sudden you become where you're dressed up. You got the makeup on, you got the money, you got the books, you got all this success. And it puts makeup on what's really inside of you. And to me, even in this situation right now, life is beautifully ugly. I always tell people life is simple, just difficult. You know what to do. You know how to apply yourself to the things in this world that work. But you also know it's going to be difficult to always subscribe to those same simple things. My only issue with this is when I look at this situation, why is it so damning now? Why is it so damning in the process of this moment? I think that she wanted something, but she didn't want what the terms that came with that was. You can't dictate terms. You didn't change the NFL. You could try. You could say, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to participate in the media. First of all, you know why she's the highest paid? Because the media. You know why the media? Because they connect to the fans. You know what the fans do? Drive the ticket sales and the price. It's an ecosystem that when you want to tap out of it, there's going to be a huge cost to you and to others. I just don't know. I don't want to go into the mental health lane. I'm just saying, okay, that's fine. As they said, it's fine. But there are consequences to you not wanting to fully participate in this sport as is. What do you think happens now? She takes the break and then comes back and she's in a better mental state? Or is she still going to have to plow through the same rigors, the same roller coaster of anxiety that we all must face?
I think at least she is applying what I said sometime last week. Your power is in your presence. Because, Sel, at this point in time, who won? The French Open, y'all didn't win. Grand Slams, y'all didn't win by mandating.
You don't think?
No, because I look at it like this, Sel. I'm a casual tennis fan. I watch if Serena Williams playing, if Naomi Osaka's playing, Coco Gauff playing, Sloane Stephens playing, Federer playing. I watch because of some names. Because typically sports are built around your superstars. WNBA making a huge push right now, and their push is predicated upon this. Build the sport around your superstars. Whether it's Sabrina Ionescu, whether it's Tara, whoever, Sue Bird, build the sport around your superstars. French Open, I would watch if I knew somebody who was playing. But if I don't know somebody who's playing, again, this is just me as a casual fan, I'm not going to watch. I don't think the French Open is winning. So now, next time around, when an athlete says, I do not want to speak because of mental health issues, okay, you're going to mandate it and your superstar is not going to play again? Think about the lengths we go through to watch our stars. We brought on, I forget the name at the moment. We brought on and talking about the schedule. When we're talking about the NFL schedule, my dog Mobile, we brought him on, and he was telling us how intently he watched the NFL draft because he wanted to see if the Chicago Bears were going to get a quarterback. Because he understands the ratings are predicated upon a superstar. This is a person who kind of dictates and understands how the NFL schedules work. Ratings are dictated upon your superstars in any sport at every level. So the French Open doesn't win by Naomi withdrawing.
Let me tell you this.
Naomi doesn't necessarily win.
Well, we know Naomi doesn't win because she's going to have to return back to the same place, whether it's the French Open, Australian Open, Wimbledon. She's going to have to play again, U.S. Open, whatever you want to do. She's got to return back to this place and deal with these demons or deal with these issues and this anxiety, whatever way she sees proper. However, what wins? The house. The house wins. The NFL wins. The Shield wins. We win when we work with the Shield and they work with us. But if we ever want to play a game of chicken, they will win. The French Open will continue because before Naomi Osaka was number 2 ranked, they were already winning. We were watching Serena. You go back, Navratilova. You go back, Steffi Graf. Like, they gonna keep making names in number 1s and number 2 seeds. And if you think any different, you're arrogant. You're not bigger.
They can both lose.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, French Open ain't going anywhere. Naomi Osaka, she got 80 years on this planet. Like, let's just be real about these things if we're gonna be absolute and objective. And the economy of any sport or any product is not based on casual. You're a casual fan. They don't give a damn about you. They won't tell you that because they want you to hop the fence. They care about the diehards. If you're not going to go out there and buy an 8-foot in diameter tennis ball and get it signed by everybody, you're not their core audience. You may want to think you are. You may be arrogant enough to think you are, but you're not the core audience. I go to a few tennis matches, and I'm a casual fan. But the point is, I know what drives that economy. Not me, not my eyeballs. It's all those families that are there week in, week out.
The stars, even think about our show. We led the show with the Lakers because of LeBron James. If LeBron James was not playing and AD was not playing, we're probably leading the show with the Clippers. Or we lead the show with the Mavs. Or we lead the show with Rodgers. Or we lead the show with Julio. But we led the show with LeBron because LeBron is a star. AD is a star. We're talking about Naomi because she's a star. Yes, the house wins in comparison to the athlete. But the question is, does the house win in comparison to the house's stature last year? But we all know this. Nobody wins when the family feuds. And Naomi and the French Open, that was a feud that led to, at least for now, a couple losses. Coming up, Patrick Mahomes wants his Chiefs to go 20-0 this season. But should he have said it? We'll answer that next. Speak for yourself.
Thursday, pro football continues with the Spring League on FS1. Catch the Conquerors and the Alphas battle for a chance in the championship. Hard-hitting action kicks off Thursday, 7 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. The Chiefs lost in the Super Bowl last season to Tom Brady's Bucs. But Patrick Mahomes is ready to turn the page. This year will feature a 17-game regular season, and Mahomes was asked if there are any records he wants to break. Listen to this.
The only record I have my eyes set on breaking, which would be, it'd be new this year, going 20-0.
Okay.
That's not really a record to be broken, I guess you'd say, but I think 19-0 is the record right now, so being able to go 20-0 be the first one to do that, that'd be awesome.
Acho, should Patrick Mahomes be talking about going 20-0?
Yes, and yes. Here's why, Sal. Since when do we get mad at somebody for trying to be perfect?
Me all the time, Anna Marie. I'm like, you ain't gonna be perfect. Why you trying?
Okay, well, look.
Okay, you ready?
I subscribe to the notion of shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you land amongst the clouds.
Okay.
I subscribe to the notion of aim for perfection, because even if you don't end up actually being perfect, you still gonna be all right. And that's where I live in. I'm like, I like having, I've said this before, I wrote my master's, and when I got my master's in sports psychology, I wrote my final paper on this. I don't believe in having or setting goals. I believe in having an objective with no limitations. Now, he is giving himself the limitation because the limitation is an NFL season is only 20 games, if indeed you are perfect, 17 plus your 3 in the playoffs. But he is giving himself an objective with relatively no limitations. And no limitations is thus, I'm not going to give myself room for error or room for a loss. I ain't mad at the man for saying he's going to be perfect. I'm not mad at him for wanting to be perfect. Ultimately, Patrick Mahomes' quote comes down to 2 things. He's aiming for perfection, and he's aiming for a Super Bowl. If he said, man, our goal is just to go 16-0 and 17-0 and see what happens, I'd be mad. Goal to win a Super Bowl, not a regular season title. But he said, I want to go 20-0. That implies he wants to be perfect. It implies he wants to win a Super Bowl.
Look, I don't like talk like this. I don't like things like this. These are those type of goals that are not for you. They're not the ones you put under your bed, under your pillow. These are the ones you put on the wall so everybody can see. Oh, we're going to go 20-0. You're like, man, you ain't going 20-0 because it's not all about you. What's the ultimate team sport? Football. How many times have we won games we should have lost? And how many times we lost games we should have won? So 20-0 is outside of your control. So why is it on your goal list? It will be nice. It will be amazing. This is one of those things that after it happens, I'm like, talk about it. But before, no. You know why? Because it reeks of arrogance. And here's the arrogance. It makes you mentally stop and skip square one. Think about what square one is. When you first year of doing anything successfully, your first book, you wrote a book and it was a New York Times bestseller, up there with like Obama's book. And you wrote that book and you killed it. Now, if you start saying next time, I'm gonna write the perfect book. I'm gonna write an even better book. Good for you. But how about this? Don't skip square one. Would you skip square one? No, because you're not arrogant. How about this, Patrick Mahomes? Throw a touchdown in the last game we seen you in. Oh, that was the biggest game. That was the Super Bowl. We saw the disparity at the quarterback position. How about this? No team has done this, so why don't you do it and then tell us how you did it? But to aspire for that, that's not perfect. It's silly. You said what? I want to shoot for the moon and land in the clouds.
Yeah, clouds, stars, all that good stuff.
You know when you land in the clouds and you really want to go to the moon, first thing you're going to do is like, where am I? Because this ain't where I wanted to be. Everybody always says that. And I'm like, that's stupid. I don't want to be anywhere I didn't intend to be. Because now I got to get out a different map. I'm like, what the hell is going on in the clouds? The moon.
Look,
I love you, Patrick Mahomes, and I love people who want to be perfect, but you lying, boss, and you lying to yourself more importantly, and it's not going to do you any good. Got to bring in Fox NFL analyst Bucky Brooks. So, Bucky, should Patrick Mahomes be talking about going 20-0?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up in a praying family, a family that went to church.
Yes,
and what Patrick Mahomes is simply doing, he's speaking it into existence. You shouldn't be afraid to put things out there because before you can do it, you got to believe that it can happen. And so this is no different than what the Kansas City Chiefs did last year. Last year, they talked about running it back and having a dynasty. You know what they did? They went 14-1 where Patrick Mahomes was their quarterback. And so for me, this is something that only the boldest can do, is to put it out there and let the world know. This is what we are looking to accomplish. This is my expectation, and we're going to work to make this happen. I love when Patrick Mahomes does this stuff because what he's really doing is he's putting the pressure on himself to make sure that every day he holds himself to that standard, that championship standard. Because let's be real, it took a global pandemic and the stars lining up for the Kansas City Chiefs to not win the Super Bowl. Ooh. It took Patrick Mahomes getting hurt. It took two offensive tackles, their starting offensive tackles, being unable to play, or they were going to do exactly what they said they were going to do. So, no, I believe in what Patrick Mahomes is saying. You stand up in it, and you say it with your chest. If he believes they're going 20-0, who am I to say that they can't get it done? I love this from the leader.
And I think they can get it done, but furthermore, let's personalize this. Y'all watching a show with all athletes that play the game at the highest level, though some better than Emmanuel Acho. So with that being said, Sel, I know there was a point in time where you told yourself, I want to get drafted.
Yeah.
Did you tell yourself you want to get drafted in the first round or just I want to get drafted?
Just drafted.
Did you ever want to lead the league in sacks? Or a sack a game?
Nah, I thought about it, but I was playing with some boys. Bruce Smith was still playing.
There comes a point in time where we all set these finite goals for ourselves. I told myself I want to get drafted in the third round.
Okay.
I'm sure so many athletes, I told myself I want to write a #1 New York Times best-selling book. Not just a best-selling book, because top 15 to me, that ain't all that special. I wanted to be #1. Well, here's the problem. I didn't get drafted in the top 3 rounds, and I didn't write a New York Times #1 best-selling book the first time. The kicker, though, is this, Sel. I look back and I say, wait a second, but you still got drafted, and only about 256 people get drafted. You didn't write a #1 New York Times best-selling book the first time, but you did write a New York Times best-selling book. So when all said and done, at the end of the day, Acho, you still did kind of okay, even if the Chiefs don't go 20-0, Sel, as long as he sets the bar that high. They'll look up. They might have gone 17-3 and won a Super Bowl. Even if the Chiefs didn't win a Super Bowl last year, Patrick Mahomes is still going to look back and say, okay, in the last 2 years, I've been to 2 Super Bowls and I won 1. Set that bar at 20-0, because even if you don't hit 20-0, you still gonna end up in a very, very good destination.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we were goalpost moving out here. I didn't know I was supposed to put on a different color jacket, grab a shovel, and say, let's move this goalpost. Hey, if you end up 17-3 and still win a Super Bowl, that ain't this question. But yeah, amazing accomplishment. But be careful of the arrogance that is seeping out in this. I want to go 20-0. It's interesting, Bucky comes on here and says he's a praying man. So he wants to go out there and say something like this, speaking it to existence.
Amen.
And then he says, only the bold could do this.
Yes, sir.
And my grandma told me, there's a thin line between bold and BS. And here's the thing. I can say a whole lot of stuff that sound bold as hell, and I qualify for it, at least to make you think maybe he could. But then there's also right next to that some BS. And here's the thing about 20-0 that I just want to let y'all know why this is so difficult, nearly impossible. Because too much can happen for that to happen. I know Patrick Mahomes means it. I am not talking about he's not being genuine. You know why I know he means it, Acho? Because he didn't say it like us. He didn't say 20-0. He said 20-0. This sucker being literal. This sucker for real. Like, he really thinking about this. But here's the problem. Look at these statistics of the 27 previous Super Bowl losers. 27 previous. Only one returned to the Super Bowl in the following season. More have missed the playoffs than even returned to the divisional round. I'm not trying to get them lost in all that sauce and talk about y'all gonna be what other teams were. But damn, this is why there's a thing called sophomore slump. And everyone always misreads what sophomore slump is. Your first year, you ball out. A little easier than you expected. Whatever, you hit the ground running. So then you go into that offseason, you're like, I got this. Oh, them boys ain't that tough. Whatever you say to yourself. And you say, next year, I'm about to do this. In Acho's terms, he gonna do something perfect. He going to the moon. And you skip a step. How about go 1-0? How about go 2-0? The tried true coaches and players, they don't, what do you say, Acho? You be where your feet are.
Oh, God.
You ain't even play week 1. Them Chargers ain't playing no games with Justin Herbert out there this year. No more overtime games and y'all barely win. This is going to be his year. So the point is, I just want somebody who stays right there in their grasp and talks about the next one up more so than all of them collectively.
I mean, look, I can't say that I'm an Ivy Leaguer, but I do know this. I know if you're in school 5 years, you're not a sophomore. He's been in the league for 5 years, so there's no sophomore slump that Patrick Mahomes is going to experience. And so maybe that's a Columbia thing, but I don't get that. And so when I think about Patrick Mahomes and I think about the guy's 38-8 in regular season since he's been in the league as a starting quarterback. He was 14-1 last year. He missed the one game. And look, we can say that this team is even better than the team that they had last year.
Oh, here we go.
Last year, he had to experience a global pandemic. They didn't have off-season work. They had, I don't know what kind of training camp or whatever you could call it. They had that. They basically throw the ball out in midfield, and they roll off 14, and then they only lose 1. I understand why Patrick Mahomes feels so confident because when we really think about it, because I know we have amnesia, we kind of forget how we sat up here on this show and talked about this being an all-time great team because they were hanging 30 burgers on everybody, even without playing hard. This is a team that is a dominant team. And I think the fuel from losing the Super Bowl the way they lost it, I think it only serves them well. This is a team that absolutely can go 20-0. And I would expect it because Patrick Mahomes has already put it out there. I think this team is chasing greatness next season.
Here's the other thing, though, Bucky, and Stel, this is how I'm going to end my thoughts with this matter.
Yeah.
If you don't say it, you sound like a punk. Here's why. Stel, I done told you the story 2 to 3 times now. If y'all ain't heard it, let me tell y'all again.
What you talking about, Willis?
My rookie year with the Cleveland Browns. Coach brings us up to the huddle after a great day of practice, Bucky Brooks. My head coach, Pat Shermer, love the man, great man. As a head coach, he has some question marks. He brings us up and he says, hey, fellas, y'all keep having perfect practices like this. We'll look up at the end of the season. We'll be 13-3. We'll be 14-2. I'm like, that was motivational? If we perfect, we don't lose. Where they do that at? Like, Sal, how does it sound if Mahomes is like, man, honestly, we're just trying to go 17-3 this year. I'm sure we'll take a couple L's. You know, Justin Herbert is coming back, and y'all saw he set a rookie touchdown record. But, I mean, you know, hopefully we just lose a few ball games this year and end up winning the whole thing. That ain't motivational talk. That doesn't sell on T-shirts. And I like Patrick Mahomes' truth because it is both true and it sells.
Yeah, but it's not extremely motivating. It's not the most motivational. However, it's authentic. That's why Belichick, Saban, all the great ones, Brady, they talk about next game. They don't talk about all of them. And none of them have been perfect, and they are fine. Well, Nick Saban has, but that's not pro. But the point is, you don't talk about it because, dog, that ain't even the goal. Like, what are you talking about? The goal is to win this one. Let the dominoes keep falling. So, look, I'm going to tell you, once again, simply, the hardest part of returning to greatness is not skipping a step. That's the problem here. You know what this is, really? Because, Bucky, you kind of talked about it, but I'm going to give it to you, Bucky. His last performance wasn't ideal. His last performance wasn't good. So you said he's fueled up from that performance. I'm going to say he's gassed up from that performance. Him and Russell Wilson, because last time I saw Russell Wilson in the playoffs, he stunk up the joint as well, just like Patrick Mahomes. And you know what happens when you stink up the joint the last time we see you? You go into the offseason like both of those guys, and you start to dress up your last performance. You start to put makeup on your off season. You start to talk in extremes. You start to talk in exaggerations. You start to say stuff in absolutes. You want all the smoke. Oh, you wanted all the smoke last time I saw you when the Bucks was out there handing you the business. And don't give me this global pandemic. Oh, if his tackles were there, he would have been all that. Hold on. You trying to tell me this year he's going to be perfect, but last year he couldn't overcome the greatest excuse, which is he had some tackles that were out? Y'all can't make this make sense, and he ain't going to make this 20-0, sorry. Coming up, Julio Jones could be headed to Seattle. But should the Seahawks want him on their roster? We'll answer that next. Speak for yourself. We're going to have a perfect show.
Hey, I'm IT3 Johnson from Chesapeake, Virginia, currently stationed at U.S. Pacific Fleet at Hawaii. I want to give a shout out to my folks back at Virginia, Texas, and Arkansas. I love and miss y'all.
Thanks, IT3 Johnson, for your service. Thanks for spending your Memorial Day with us.
And a big thank you to all the brave men and women who have given their lives while serving this country.
All right, now let's head to Atlanta, where Julio Jones' days appear to be numbered as reports say the Falcons are fielding calls for the 7-time Pro Bowler. One of those calls could be from the Seahawks, where a report says they've had discussions on a possible trade, and Russell Wilson and Jones have even spoke about the possibility of playing together. Bucky is back, so Acho, should the Seahawks want Julio Jones?
Absolutely not. And they shouldn't want Julio Jones because they do not need Julio Jones. First things first, Bucky Brooks, sit up straight. You know this class. Class is now.
What?
You paying Tyler Lockett $17 million a year. DK Metcalf, you did not draft in the first round. Thus, you do not have the opportunity to pick up his fifth-year option. So in about 12 months from now, DK Metcalf will be the highest paid receiver. You might be paying him about $25 million a year. And then Julio Jones, remember, commands 15.5, 11.5, and 11.5. Do you really want to commit $55 million to the receiver room? First question, Seahawks fans, you need to ask yourself. The second question is this. Do you want to stunt DK Metcalf's growth?
Ooh.
Because if you got DK Metcalf, plus Tyler Lockett, plus a proven Julio Jones as one of the greatest receivers this game has ever seen, do you really want to stunt his growth? Those are the two questions you initially need to ask yourself. And the answer to both of those questions will, or at least should be, no, we're not trying to commit $55 million to the receiver room. And no, I don't want to stunt DK Metcalf's growth, regardless of if I can acquire a 32-year-old Julio Jones.
Okay, so I'm going to remember this argument because I'm going to put a bookmark because when we talk about Aaron Rodgers and how he needs more weapons, I'm going to make sure I harken back to what you said about we don't want to make sure we add more weapons around Russell Wilson to allow Russell Wilson to do his thing. And so when I think about this, there are a couple different things that are at play here with the Seattle Seahawks. One, I absolutely love the move. I love the move because new offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, comes over from the L.A. Rams. The L.A. Rams a few years ago when they went to the Super Bowl, what did they do? They played 11 personnel, one back, one tight end, 3 wide receivers, pretty much all day. So now I have the opportunity to play basically a video game with Julio Jones on one side, DK Metcalf on the other side, Tyler Lockett in the slot. And when I think about the prospect of defending those 3 weapons, particularly after we saw DK Metcalf, his big body self running down the track, I think we now have an opportunity to put fear in the minds of defensive coordinators. Even though I still think they're going to run the football, they're going to throw it on play action. It's a lot of one-on-one opportunities out there available. If you're the Seattle Seahawks, this is a no-brainer, particularly if it's only going to cost you a second-round pick or less. Man, do the deal, pick up the phone, make it happen, because if the Seattle Seahawks do this, we're talking about them being one of the teams that could be left standing, taking on Patrick Mahomes as he's pursuing his 20th straight win in the Super Bowl.
Man, stop. Nah, y'all don't need no damn Julio Jones on this roster right now. Another receiver? Like, damn, how many receivers y'all gonna have out there? Y'all forget they just drafted in the second round Dwayne Eskridge. They only had 1 pick in the first 3 rounds, and they go out there and get a receiver. Now, y'all talking about get another receiver. Y'all stop with this. They already got Julio Jones on their roster. He's younger. His name is DK Metcalf. Y'all know who he is. Future Julio. That's what I'm going to call him right now. Also the dude that got smoked at Mount Sac. You know what I'm saying? That's that guy. But, hey, he a beast in football, but he football fast. He ain't track fast. Respect that track hashtag. Here's the thing. They got a new offensive coordinator, Shane Caldron. How many plays has he called in the NFL so far, Bucky? I asked you. Okay, exactly. You didn't say nothing because that's how many he's called. Donut. And now you're going to add Julio Jones with his greatness and another hungry mouth to feed at the receiving position when you already got Tyler Lockett. You already got DK Metcalf. Now you got Esrich, who you think highly of, enough to where you draft him high. And you're going to add Julio Jones to this? To me, this is not smart. This is not how you orchestrate a team in terms of team building. The orchestra, when it sounds its best, is when all the different instruments are playing in harmony. Not just the flutes, not just the pipes. Like, I want all these things to work together. How about you go get another cornerback? Because you guys had the 31st pass defense last year. Yeah, you went out there and you got Witherspoon for the 49ers, but how about some more cornerbacks? You're a 31st ranked. So, no, it doesn't make any sense to me because you already got Julio Jones. He's just a younger version. Let him blossom. Coming up, the Lakers are tied 2-2 with the Suns, but Anthony Davis is unlikely to play in Game 5. Tell you if they need AD to win the series, I can answer that right now. Yes! Next. Oh, speak for yourself. Stop playing.
Let's get back to the NBA and the Lakers. They lost to the Suns Sunday. I don't really want to talk about it, but I have to.
Nah, do your job.
But they also lost Anthony Davis, who missed the entire second half with a strained groin. Now, reports say AD is unlikely to play in Game 5 tomorrow night in Phoenix. After the loss, LeBron James was asked if he can carry the team without AD. Here's what he had to say.
You know, for me, it's putting our team in position to be successful. It starts with my approach, it starts with my accountability, trickles down to everybody else. So, you know, these shoulders was built for a reason. And, you know, if it takes for me to put some more on top of it, then so be it. Win, lose, or draw, I'm ready for the challenge.
Joined by NBA analyst, my guy, Slick Rick Bucher. But, Marcellus, do the Lakers need Anthony Davis to win the series against the Suns?
Absolutely. We've already seen enough on record and a resume to realize that AD is the lightning rod, the energy that this team needs to get over the top. I'll bring up once again that LeBron tried to bring others in year one with the Lakers, and all they got him was a non-playoff appearance and an injured season. Then AD shows up and they win the championship. Now you see a situation where AD doesn't even play in the second half of this game and they run him off the floor. Those 34 points in Game 2, those 34 points in Game 3 will be sorely missed from this team going forward. And I think that this is going to hurt them because you just saw yesterday, that wasn't the best we're going to see from CP3. That certainly wasn't the best we're going to see from DeAndre Ayton. That's what I call him. And it's not the best we saw from Devin Booker. A one-armed CP3 with a 14-point and 17-point Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton ran the Lakers off the floor. The Lakers are not a team right now in terms of offensive production that scares any team. Mark Jackson continuously highlighted this. When you looked at their lineup, all you saw was LeBron and Schroeder. And then the rest of those guys can't create for themselves. Those guys are dependents. They're on your tax returns. They are depending on LeBron and Schroeder to create for them. And that's going to be a problem for this team going against a team that's deeper in the Phoenix Suns. So no AD. No chance for this team because right now it doesn't look formidable with the lineup they have.
So you don't believe that, and I'm not even convinced that I believe that because what you were saying doesn't make total sense to me. Here is how the Lakers can beat the Suns without AD, and it's simple. LeBron James just has to do one thing. Now, at first you might want to say, well, LeBron, you got to take your point total from 21 points per game upwards. Currently, he's averaging 21 points a game. That's not going to get it done. The lazy take is, well, Bron, if you average, say, 35 points a game, that'll do it. So that was my take in the A block. That's how I know it was a lazy take. Because I realized that's not going to get it done either. LeBron, you're going to have to do something you've done before. Remember when you were down 3-1 to the Golden State Warriors, Cleveland Cavs? Greatest comeback of all time when LeBron was at the Cavs. Well, he accounted for, not scored. He accounted for 59 points a game. That's how many he scored plus assisted on. So, Sel, if the Lakers and when the Lakers do mount their comeback, LeBron has to do one thing. account for 60 points a game. That's the magic number, y'all. That's the answer. That's the secret. I've given y'all the code. If LeBron James can account for 60 points a game, I don't care how you do it, Bron. You can get 45 and you can assist 15. You can assist 45 and you can get 15. But when he came back against the Golden State Warriors, he accounted for 59.3 points per game. In order, 59 points, 67 points, 52 points. That's what he accounted for. That's what he was responsible for. If he can do this, Sel, and I believe, and I know that he can, Lakers beat the Suns, no brainer. It's easy. Easy money.
Oh, we are about to have a Memorial Day barbecue here, and I am going back for second helpings. But I'm going to take my first helpings first. I'll address what you just gave us, Acho, in a second. But here's the number one thing. No, they do not need Anthony Davis in order to win this series. They need Anthony Davis and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to win this series. We are sleeping on the fact that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope missed Game 4 entirely, and there's a question as to whether he's going to be available going forward. The Lakers have hung their hat on defense all year long, and now, as a result of losing arguably two of their best, if not the best defensive players, they see themselves sliding from their perch up top. Can I get a full screen, please, so we can compare exactly where these two teams are going, where they were in the regular season, where they are right now. Now, the Lakers offensively, 12th ranked in the playoffs, 24th during the regular season, basically holding serve where they were offensively. But where they have fallen is defensively in a big way. They were the number one team defensively. They are now sliding to 4th among playoff teams. Can ill afford that, and that is with KCP playing the first 3 games and AD being there for the most part through 3.5 games. So now you take those two out, and meanwhile you have the Phoenix Suns, who have improved defensively. They've slipped a little bit of offensively, but you would expect that with CP3 being hampered for at least 2 games. So these two teams are moving in the exact opposite direction. And I don't see how LeBron is going to be capable of not only giving you the offensive numbers that you're suggesting, Acho, but make up for the absence of both Anthony Davis and KCP at the defensive end.
Yeah, it's not a shot at LeBron and his greatness to say you can't do this by yourself. It's a team sport. 5 players on the court at a time. Acho, you're amazing at what you do, but you can't host this show by yourself. Or maybe you can. Actually, I've been reading those reports. Yeah, you better watch yourself, bro. Try to co-host Killer Me. Watch what happened to your ass. No, here we go. No, but the point is, it's a different lift. Whatever you want to say, when Acho ain't here, bruh, I'm not trying to shoot at myself or anybody else, but it's a different lift. So that's the thing about this, LeBron. It's going to be a different lift without AD, trust me. And LeBron knows this because LeBron's a genius in terms of basketball acumen. LeBron knows that the Lakers have not won in the playoffs when LeBron is the leading scorer. Oh. Yeah, and in those 2 games, 91 points a game. Ooh, that's down. 41% from the field. Ugh. That's not the same team. Lakers are giving up the second most turnovers per game of any playoff team. Oh, you think that's going to improve when all of a sudden no AD is there? And let me tell you why I know already there's been a huge impact without Anthony Davis, even in the second half alone. We saw Schroeder have 8 points after averaging over 19 points coming into Game 4. You want to know what happened? I'm going to tell you what happened. I call it the peerless price. That's my dog. That's my boy. But it's a thing where all of a sudden you have to ascend from a position, number 2 receiver to number 1 receiver. Number 3 in terms of offensive weapon to number 2. And the coverages shift. And the defenses shift. And the attention paid to you shifts. And all of a sudden, that 19 points a game that we remember Schroeder's getting in every other game drops down to 8. Because now we ain't got to worry about AD. So all of that concern is going right to you, Dennis Schroeder. What are you going to do? I remind you, he was CP3's backup last year. CP3 is not intimidated by Schroeder being out there, even though he's a hell of a player and great defensive presence. Also, you start to look at the bench production. They're only getting 26 points a game from their bench, which is down from 40 points a game during the regular season. So now you're going to rob the bench even further when you all of a sudden have to elevate a Schroeder in this situation. Bruh, it ain't adding up well, man. It's starting to look like the 07 Cavs to me. LeBron and them. And then right now, I don't see how LeBron and them, like year one with the Lakers, is going to be able to advance.
Here is the question that I have for y'all, though it's truly rhetorical. Y'all talking about the Suns like they the Nets. Oh. Y'all talking about the Suns like they the 15 Warriors, which LeBron also had the ability to come back. But nonetheless, y'all talking about the Suns like they really are Goliath out here. People, LeBron James came back against Clay, Dre, and Steph.
6 years ago.
LeBron James took that 07 Cavs team to the finals. People, LeBron James has done more with less.
Really?
Yo, yes.
Go.
For 2 games, Sal. All he got to do is 2 games to get through the series.
What?
You telling me LeBron James cannot dominate 2 games? Chris Paul is not freaking Magic Johnson in his prime, albeit Chris Paul is a first ballot Hall of Famer, but Chris Paul's going to give you 16 and 9. Like he gave you yesterday. DeAndre Ayton is not Shaquille O'Neal circa 2001, albeit he's very good right now. But y'all talking about these dudes like Devin Booker about to go drop 81. Everybody calm down and put some respect on the person who is due the most respect, LeBron James.
All of that, Acho, is fair. In that we still need to see the Suns, these young Suns, these unproven Suns close out a playoff series. However, that said, let's take a look at the timestamp of the argument that you're making. How long ago was that LeBron James performance? And when was the last time that we saw him score 40 plus in consecutive games? Because I don't think it's just a matter of you need 2 more games. You need it to be the next 2 games. Playing a game 7, 3-3, and LeBron James is still carrying the load in Phoenix in a game 7, that's where the hype of the home court advantage works in favor of a young team like the Suns. It's been 4, almost 5 years since we've seen LeBron James give us that kind of performance in back-to-back games. And we're looking at a team that doesn't have a Kyrie Irving as the number 2. Who is that Laker, that great number 2 that the Lakers have that they're going to lean on in this situation? LeBron doesn't have that. We thought that last summer, and this is what's being exposed right here, we thought that they actually upgraded from last year's team. And the reality is that has not happened. Montrezl Harrell can't even get on the floor. And he was supposed to be an upgrade from either JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard. Marc Gasol can shoot threes, but defensively has no answer for DeAndre Ayton. Wes Matthews stepping in for KCP. Yeah. Lakers fans, as much as you hated Danny Green last year, you wish you had him right now. That's the problem that the Lakers are facing. LeBron James was playing with a thin deck to begin with, and it's only thinner now. And I just, with all respect to LeBron, he, as Sella said, he can't possibly carry the weight at both ends. He's got to make up for what made their calling card on defense and then do more on offense than he has in 4 years. Ooh. Acho, come on. I know it's a holiday, but it's not Christmas.
Here's
we don't get to wish for gifts that are just in our imagination.
Y'all, I can't wrap my head around. You've literally seen a man for 9 out of 10 consecutive years lead his team to the finals. You've seen a man score 25 of his team's 27 points. You've seen a man in game 6 of a needed closeout game give you 45 and 15 against the Celtics back in the day. You've seen this man walk on water, and yet you doubt if he can swim. Man, I don't get it,
look, you give me these old
Acho, last two out of 3 years. Like, it's not the length of time that he's done it. It's if you look at recent history, I can look at the breadth of the history and go, he's done some amazing things. When I go into his stats and I look at, like, the playoff stats and I got to scroll to get all of them in, no, that's impressive as hell. But if I look at the last 3 years, the dynamic changes.
Fair.
The bubble was a special circumstance. The year before, didn't have anything, couldn't get it done. Like, recent history is on my side. The depth of history is on yours.
Fair.
Yeah, it could easily be a summation of LeBron James if this doesn't work out this year. 2 of the last 3 seasons, oh, man, no championship. And obviously one of them, he didn't even make the playoffs, and then the other being a one and done in the playoffs. That's not his long resume. But with that said, Acho, you give me these old-ass comps, man. Stop it. Kyrie, anywhere. Kevin Love, anywhere. This ain't the 2015 Warriors they're facing, and he ain't got the 2015 Cavs with him. He got the thinnest deck allowed in the NBA and still out there playing because his numbers were already down. Already down. And now y'all forcing this man, this old king, to run when he wanted to jog. AD got forced to run where he wanted to jog. That's why they both were out this year. And then all of a sudden, somebody smacked them inside in the facility and said, hey, y'all ain't played with Andre Drummond. Y'all better get y'all butts out there right before this season ends. And they tried to find some chemistry at the end of the season. Point being, LeBron running full speed right now is going to be fast, just not fast enough. Coming up, Kyrie Irving appeared to have a bottle thrown at him last night after the win. We have a lot to say about that, and that's next on Speak for Yourself.
Who's going to beat Dellavedova?
The Nets beat the Celtics in Boston last night, and after the game, Kyrie Irving walked to midcourt and rubbed his foot on the Celtics logo. Then in a separate incident, Kyrie was walking to the tunnel, and a water bottle was thrown in his direction. The fan was arrested, and reports say he's been charged with assault and battery by means of a dangerous weapon. Take a listen to Kevin Durant and Kyrie after the game.
You're seeing a lot of old ways come up. It's been that way in history in terms of entertainment, performers, and sports for a long period of time of just underlying racism and just treating people like they're in a human zoo. You know, throwing stuff at people, saying things. You know, there's a certain point where it just gets to be too much.
We not animals. We not in a circus. You coming to the game is not all about you as a fan. So have some respect for the game, have some respect for these human beings, and have some respect for yourself. Your mother wouldn't be proud of you throwing water bottles at basketball players or spitting on players or tossing popcorn. So go and enjoy the game. You know, it's bigger than you.
Acho, what's your reaction to this incident?
First, as I'm listening, I'm like, I don't know why we continue to compare like the athletes to people at the zoo or a circus. You don't even spit at animals in a zoo, last I checked. So it's not even a fair comparison because athletes, y'all, are actually currently being treated worse to certain degrees than zoo animals, if you will. My reaction is this. For so long in American sports, we have protected the fans from the game. In hockey, there is glass. In hockey, there is a net. Now in baseball, behind the batter's plate, there is a net to protect the fans. In football, when you go to kick a field goal, a net is raised. You want to protect the fans from the game. But I believe it is time that we start to protect the game from the fan. Because now you are seeing fans attack, to certain degrees, players. Spitting on players, popcorn on players, and now a water bottle on players. Yes, we have always said protect a fan from physical harm or danger. That is why we put up barriers. But what if it's actually the athlete that needs protection? Remember, there had to be an unfortunate death in hockey. A puck hits a fan, which is why hockey now not only has glass, but nets in certain areas. Are we going to wait for a tragedy in sports? It started just with spit, which is degrading, but not lethal. Then popcorn, which is a little more inflicting of physical pain, but again, probably not lethal. But now we're getting to a water bottle. Well, what happens if the water bottle's filled up with water? What will it take, pro sports? What will it take, NBA, for us to start taking these actions seriously?
Ooh, man. My reaction to this, all I want to push back, though. You said spit's not lethal? Oh, spit on me. It's lethal. It's completely, whatever y'all want to do with this film right now, spit on me and see what it do. Oh, boy, I got... spit on me. It's lethal. Here's the thing. I want to say what my grandmother told me about situations like this because it's pretty obvious what's at play right here. You can't make sense out of nonsense.
Yes, sir.
And let's not overstate what this is. Let's not go into deep history. Let's not go into racism fully and just call it what it is. Fan is short for fanatic. Okay, you want to know why? Because the same person that's going to spend their last dollar and lose their voice like me on a jersey, on tickets, on screaming for you to do something they can't do and they have no control over is the same person that's going to cross that line and go out of bounds. Now, I'm not talking about in totality. I'm talking about that same energy of the person who does that. You can pick out a group of those who will cross the line. What's happening now is they're crossing the line as their fanaticism continues to increase. It's almost the gift and the curse of being a fan. I am not rationalizing this behavior. I'm saying there is no absolute deterrent. There is something that can drastically curtail it. Ban them for life. Now, that population of those, let's say it's 100, that will go all the way with this, will drop in number, but never go to zero. Because there's always going to be somebody sauced up, mob mentality with a fanatical spirit that is going to cross the line. But what's happening right now is that we're trying to say, look, they're not respecting us. It's a warped way of showing respect, but they are actually just so consumed with being oblivious, but also wanting to be a part of it. And they're crossing this line. Players, don't dig into the annals. This ain't deep. This is just the NBA needs to be just like right now. You can't go anywhere without COVID vaccination or a negative test. I've been to a couple games. That's what's been required entry. Required entry is what's your name? What's your ID? Oh, you on the list, bruh. You banned for life from sporting events. Sit your butt at home and watch it like the other fans.
The only last thing I'll say is this. Fans, please understand your job description. Your job description is simply to be a fan, is to be a fanatic. You are what makes the game great. However, you are not the opponent. See, the job of the opponent is to retaliate if they ever feel disrespected. Kyrie Irving steps on a logo. That is the job of the opponent, to retaliate as they deem necessary. But it is not you, the fan, the job to retaliate. If you are walking through a grocery store and you see someone shoplifting, it is not you, your job as a civilian, to try to arrest the shoplifter. That is the job of the employee or the job of the police officer. If you are at a MMA fight and you see your favorite fighter losing the match, it is not your job to hop into the octagon and try to stop the fight. It is the job of the opponent to retaliate as they deem necessary. So lastly, fans, just understand your job description. You make the game great. Please don't ruin it. Coming up, Aaron Rodgers is still a Green Bay Packer. For now. We'll tell you if we believe he would really sit out this season. Next, speak for yourself.
At the grocery store? No, stop. No, a little bit.
Aaron Rodgers is currently on the Packers roster, but a report says people close to the reigning MVP say he's remaining, quote, adamant that he is stuck in and won't play for the Packers ever again. It went on to say they would not be surprised if Rodgers dragged the situation till September in an attempt to force a trade. So, Sel, do you believe Aaron Rodgers would really sit out this season?
No, and I don't believe his fake-ass friends either. Talking about, if those your friends, Aaron, get new ones, because they lying. But I know what is going on. This is the same thing happened with Ezekiel Elliott. Remember, he was down in Cabo, then he started recruiting all these friends. Then he had to put a face to those friends, so it became like Marshall Faulk and stuff. Like, this is what people do when you don't have any leverage. And he has a little leverage because he's Aaron Rodgers, but you ain't above the law. You ain't got no power. You got a little leverage. And now your friends say, yeah, Aaron, I ain't gonna pay your bills because you're too damn expensive, but don't play. I guarantee you there's two things happening. Aaron Rodgers is either gonna retire or he gonna show up in Green Bay by September. All of this is just the same thing that everyone does when they don't want to fight. They talk. Meet me at the flagpole 3 o'clock. Okay, I'm showing up because you know me, I ain't fighting, but I'm watching. And I'm there at 3 o'clock watching Acho about to get slammed up by John Arrogant. You know John Arrogant? He put hands on people. Anyway, so John show up and Acho show up. If Acho shows up, say, so what's up, big dog? What you want? You ain't trying to fight. All right, no, because John is doing, this is John. Aaron, shut up. Friend, shut up. If you ain't showing up, shut up. We'll see. But you know why he's talking? Because he really don't want this fight.
First off, Aaron Rodgers would sit out this season, and some people are above the law.
Who?
See you. Now, with that being said, you know what I'm talking about. It'll sink in here in a second. With that being said, Aaron Rodgers is out to prove a point, Sal.
Carrie Underwood? No, go ahead.
Aaron Rodgers is out to prove a point. I did not think Aaron Rodgers would all of a sudden start doing a weekly show voluntarily. Pat McAfee show. True. Shout out to Pat. Never thought that. Didn't think Aaron Rodgers would skip OTAs and spend the time in Hawaii. Never thought that. Didn't think Aaron Rodgers would end up engaged out of nowhere. Didn't think that. Didn't think Aaron Rodgers would start hosting Jeopardy. Didn't think that. There's so many things about Aaron Rodgers now that we didn't previously think. I would have been with you 5 years ago, right? That version of Aaron Rodgers. Even 3 years ago. This new version of Aaron Rodgers, big dog, he done changed. I can't assess this Aaron Rodgers and his situation, but I know this much. Aaron Rodgers isn't going back with his tail between his legs. He's a prideful man. And
Stop making it seem like that's what it is if you just do your job.
If he does all of this, all this
tail between your legs if you go home and study.
Hawaii and singing and all this nonsense just to go back and report and be like, okay, guys.
Yeah, all these other athletes did it over time, all of them. Carson Palmer, all of them. They find their way back to that facility. Coming up, Mike McCarthy is looking to clean the slate on his Cowboys debut season. We'll give you our confidence level for year 2. That's next. Speak for yourself.
See, you didn't get it?
Let me get it. Let's head to Dallas. The Cowboys won a disappointing 6-10 in Mike McCarthy's debut season. Now it's on to year 2, where the Cowboys have full participation as a team at their OTAs. McCarthy sounds very optimistic, saying, quote, "It's great to be out on the field with your players." So, Acho, what's your confidence level on Mike McCarthy heading into year 2, homeboy?
None. Literally none at all.
Year 2 this year, not last year.
None.
Oh, wow.
So, in every occupation, in every field in life,
stop it.
We understand that you can regress talent-wise. Everyone.
Okay, facts.
We understand that if you do not move and keep up with the times, that you can regress. I talked to Gary Keller, CEO of Keller Williams Realty, largest realty firm in the world, at least in the nation. And he told me that when Zillow and Trulia started popping off, he had to move and pivot with the times. The companies that couldn't keep up, they fell out. The realty companies that couldn't. During this pandemic, so many of you either were a part of this or know someone who was a part of not being able to pivot as our world and society pivoted. You couldn't keep up with the times. So though you may have been great and may have been thriving, if you can't keep up with the times, you're out of there. So many general managers, they no longer have an eye for talent. So many executives, they no longer have an eye how to run their business properly. So many owners no longer know and understand how to cultivate a proper culture in their locker room. If we understand that in every facet of our world, why do we not realize that coaches can lose it too? So 13 coaches have won multiple Super Bowls. And no coach that has won multiple Super Bowls has had more than one losing season in between Super Bowls. Mike McCarthy has won a Super Bowl, and he's lost 3 consecutive seasons. He's had 3 consecutive losing seasons. No coach that has won multiple Super Bowls has had more than one. And we believe that Mike McCarthy, who's had 3 consecutive losing seasons, is going to go win another Super Bowl? It's not possible, at least it hasn't been. So if we understand that in every other aspect of occupational life, you can lose your abilities, then we should understand Mike McCarthy may have lost his as well.
Man, that's messed up right there.
What'd I do?
Oh, man, I am with you, Mike McCarthy. My confidence is high. Higher than Acho's, obviously, talking to Keller Williams. I don't care about what y'all talking about. You know why? Because there's only 9 coaches that have a Super Bowl championship that are active. That means there's 23 that don't, right? Let's talk about those 23. Yeah, I saw you do that math. Boy, that University of Texas women
carry the 2.
Hey, I went there first on paper. So here's the thing. Is Sean McVay a good coach? Is he a great coach? He ain't won no damn Super Bowls, but everybody gives him a high esteem. So if Mike McCarthy happens to fall off a little bit into the level and tier of a Sean McVay, you gonna sit up here and damn the man? Hell no. Shout out to Dilly, shout out to Darian, because I was at a wedding yesterday, y'all can hear it, and they from Dallas, and they love me. They say, because, dog, we know you suck when you played here, but you be talking good about them Cowboys right now, so props to me. Even we were swag suckering yesterday, and I fell down on the dance floor. True story. That video might get out. It may get leaked. At least I'm going to show
you getting old, bro.
What do you mean getting old? I am old. I shouldn't have been swag surfing in the first place. God struck me down, as he should. But you know what? This is the Tampa Bay template. There was a 7-9 team out there that needed a quarterback, and now their starting quarterback is not injured. His name is Dak Prescott. He's back on America's team, and damn it, you go from 7-9 to winning it all. Let's see it happen, Cowboys. Let's go. Coming up, it was a good weekend for me. You're damn right. I went to a wedding. My Clippers couldn't lose. And I'll tell you how I feel about my team right now. Next on Speak For You.
I hate that take. I can't stand when you go.
When I go Tampa Bay.
Marcellus' Clippers took care of business. I can't even lie. Yeah, they took care of business. I say with my chest. Handing the Mavs a blowout win on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. Now the series is all tied up 2-2, unfortunately. Luka Doncic is banged up with neck pain as Game 5 is set for Wednesday here in L.A. First off, why y'all get so much rest when my Lakers can't get no rest?
Oh, because they know they got to preserve the champs.
How you feel about your Clippers right now?
Cocky as hell, arrogant as it gets, no more push-ups. My shoulders will be resting. Your shoulders are about to be taxed because, dog, we were out there jogging. See, it's funny when the Lakers, they starting slow. The Lakers out there jogging. They ain't jogging no more. They are running for their lives. And us, we just finally found our groove. And Luka, I'm sorry, you've been amazing, bruh. But that check engine light is on. Dr. Chow wrote a great piece on this, friend of the show and friend of mine who, for Outkick, talked about how it's been underreported, this injury. Y'all saw him in the second half the entire time with his right arm. That bulging disc in his neck, man, this is not just a little pain. This is a for real injury. Clippers are fine. They're coasting through this. See you in the second round, big dog.
Feel great about your Clippers right now, Marcellus, but it is very short-lived because Game 5 will come around and the Mavs will revert back to shooting 50% from three, and it's a wrap.
No, it's not a wrap. The only thing that's a wrap is me and you, 50 push-ups on... I'm going to wait. Thanks for sharing your Memorial Day. Fox Bet Live next. You don't want that.